Squeeze blinking sounds like what it is. Combined acupressure, which is, I guess, like pressure up against the eyeball. Let me see, page 33.
You just put your finger right on your eye with your eye closed or your eyelids closed and just press.
Let's see. Take off your glasses, close your eyes, place your thumbs in the hollows of your temples as shown. Firmly stroke the upper rims of your eye sockets with the flat part of your index fingers. Now move to the lower rims of eye sockets. Apply same firm stroking in same direction. Continue alternating. So that's what that is. I don't even.
Well, I'm doing it right now.
I don't know. Like if somebody was high when they came up with this book.
Well, it sounds like a lot of it. It sounds like just giving yourself like an eye socket massage. Like
yeah,
I'm sort of doing it right now, and it kind of feels nice. It feels nice, but I have fucking terrible vision, and it won't change that for shit. Like.
So combined acupressure and then palming. I think palming is where you put like your palm up against like your eye, like lid or something. Let me look at that one.
I think that's one of our other sexual euphemism challenges.
Oh, palming. I only wish it had been this week.
Palming.
Palming is where you close your eyes and cover them with your hands so no light gets in. And the benefits are palming can reduce visual stress and eye strain. That sounds like bullshit to me.
Yeah. Again, this just feels like kind of nice.
Yeah, that's probably one of the ways that they take advantage, and people are like, oh, it feels kind of nice.
Yeah.
So
they really should have thrown in like squats or Kegels or something.
Kegels.
Just to throw people off.
Let's see. And then there's one called tromboning. Only that.
I know. That is a sexual euphemism that we did not come up with.
Tromboning. What you do... Oh, you take like a pencil or something and you move it further away and closer to your eyes.
That reminds me of The Jerk. You remember the movie? Where he makes the glasses with like the little thing on the bridge of the nose to take them off.
I don't remember. It's been. I haven't actually seen The Jerk since like the mid '80s.
Oh, really?
It's been a long time.
Oh man, I like that movie a lot. Yeah, like I think he invents this thing like so you can take your glasses off more easily from the bridge of your nose, and he makes all this money off of it. He gets rich, but then like it makes everybody cross-eyed because they all end up focusing on it, and they sue him and take all of his money.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Let's see. Then there's something called blur reading and blur zoning. I think it's pretty apparent what they would be. And then use the word chart and hydrotherapy. Obviously, that has something to do with. I'm gonna guess that's take a garden hose and shoot it directly into your open eye. No.
It's bracing.
Let's see. Hydrotherapy. All right. So basically, it's showing a picture of a guy with a wet towel pressed up against his face. Dip a washcloth in hot water and hold it against your closed eyes for 30 seconds. Then dip washcloth in cold water and hold it against your closed eyes for 30 seconds. Benefits. Hydrotherapy can relax the eyes and stimulate the flow of nutrients to the entire eye region. Oh, Jesus. See, when I was reading this at the time too, I was like, Jesus, I'm gonna be sending this back. I'm not a bright man, but that's bullshit.
I'm not this much of a dork.
I couldn't believe it. Just the disappointment. So hydrotherapy and then blinking, just a thing where you just blink. That's part of their elaborate pamphlet. Blinking.
See, they should have also, as part of the scam, if I had come up with it, would be that I would ask people to videotape themselves doing this and send them in, and then use those as demonstrations, because I bet it looks funny as fuck to see people doing some of this shit, just like sitting on their couch, just like pressing the fuck out of their eyeballs and doing the clock thing. You just see people's eyes going round and round and round.
Yeah. It reminds me of, again, the episode of Bullshit where they get like a guy in a mall to tell people to do ridiculous shit, and one woman gets talked into shoving chocolates up her asshole. Like, this reminds me of that. And also, in case these guys are still out there, when Cole said the word scam, he was talking about something he would come up with if he was doing it. Not that we're calling this a scam, because that would be libelous and slanderous and whatever.
True.
So, we're we're not saying that.
Oh yeah, not at all.
We're just saying it's bullshit, which is completely fine. Although, if we did get sued for hypothetically calling some sort of vision hypothetical treatment hypothetically a scam,
Hypothetically,
I could probably defend that in court. And I wouldn't actually mind it. I think it would be kind of fun. So if anybody does feel like suing us, I think it would actually be kind of enjoyable. So, have at it, Haas, if you want to. It would be fun because since I do believe this is bullshit, and it doesn't seem to be based in any kind of science, and somebody decided to sue us for slander,
I could probably get a cheap lawyer just to walk us through like the basics of like court procedure, but I would totally want to defend ourselves.
Oh,
like,
that'd be the best. Yeah.
That'd be really easy just to ask them. Have you done? Have you performed have you done or have you had done or had performed scientific studies on this method? Is this vetted by a majority of the ophthalmological or optometric community?
Well, the first
go
thing,
through all kinds of things.
My opening statement would include, what is a scam? That wouldn't be hard.
It really wouldn't.
It sort of reminds me, there's a big hubbub the last couple of years. A guy named Simon Singh got sued by the British Chiropractic Association in England.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, that's where they would be.
Well, yeah, of
and
course.
He called the chiropractic bogus, and he got sued for it. And he ended up winning, and now the law is in the process of being changed.
Nice.
So
I appreciate that.
Nice work, you assholes. You totally fucked yourselves.
Well, and you know what I've noticed with the chiropractic shit over the years is that fewer and fewer people are going for anything, and more people are just going. They're basically getting a really expensive back massage. Like, which, again, I don't really understand, but a lot of people, seemingly intelligent people, swear by it. And I say stuff like, well, why don't, if you go to the chiropractor, do you go to like cure your tetanus? Like what? And they go, oh no, that's absurd. I go for my back. And I'm like, but they don't, like, they're just massaging you. Just get a fucking massage. It's cheaper and probably more fun. Like,
yeah, depending on what kind of massage.
Exactly.
From a beautiful woman or a confused young man.
I actually wouldn't need the young man to be confused, but anyway.
Nah, I'm just stealing an old joke.
No, I know.
And I would need the young man to be confused. So yeah, like that would be an interesting little side hobby of ours to get sued.
To induce what I don't know what the noun form of sue is. The verb to sue.
Sewage? I don't know.
There's reading something. Law students or lawyers out there listening. What is the noun of sue? To sue. Suance?
Well, anyway.
Yeah, not important.
So yeah, I'm calling this bullshit, but we're officially not meaning that this is a scam. We're not saying that this is a scam. We're not saying that this is a scam. So anyway,
not at all. Not even close.
So let's see: hydrotherapy, blinking, more tromboning. One called nose fusion.
I can't not laugh at tromboning.
I know, it sounds so dirty.
If I have a kid that wants to play the trombone, I don't think I'm going to be able to let she or he. Like, I can't. I'd be like, you just can't do it.
Well, you'd have to, like, send him to the Urban Dictionary, and then, like, if you read that and then you still want to be a trombonist, then you have my blessing.
I'm going to say that, and then, like, 5 minutes later from upstairs, I'm going to hear, like, Dad, that's gross. And it's like, you're the one who wants to play the trombone.
Is it tromboner? Trombonist?
Probably trombonist.
I like tromboner, but...
It reminds me of the Skelebener costume I saw at the Halloween store.
Yeah, that would have been a far better villain for He-Man. I'll get you next time, He-Man.
I'll rape you next time, He-Man. That was his goal. He didn't want to control the planet. He was just trying to molest He-Man.
Skelebaner. I'll bet you there's probably some sort of parody cartoon out there already.
Oh, yeah.
On the vast worldwide internets.
Internets.
So nose fusion. Slowly inhale and cross your eyes by looking at the tip of your nose. Then exhale and look at a far object. Nose fusion can improve control of the extraocular muscles and help your eyes work together as a team.
You can't not... There's something wrong with you if your eyes aren't working together as a team.
Yeah.
Like, you actually have to go to the doctor to get that fixed.
Yeah, that's like a wandering eye or whatever. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, my cousin, when he was a little, had a late... I don't know what you call it now. But, yeah, like, basically his one eye was fine and his other eye was looking the wrong direction, and it was just a tendon that he got... Or, yeah, I guess it's a tendon. Some sort of connective tissue. When he was born, I guess it got stuck in the wrong place, and all they do is cut it and sew it to the right place. And he's fine.
Oh, that's cool. I doubt nose fusion would have had much to do with it, though.
No, yeah. I think it was going to see a surgeon.
Let's see. The fusion chart.
Somehow the man got him out of that snafu.
Oh, and they say part of the thing of nose fusion is looking at one of the charts I mentioned with the circles and shit on it. And I guess you're supposed to like look at the wide ones and then the narrow ones, etc. Fusion pumping. That sounds kind of dirty. I like that.
Yes, it does.
Fusion pumping. What to do? Hold the fusion chart at arm's length and fuse the faces together. Then slowly change focus. Back and forth. Fusion pumping can increase your focusing power. So I wonder if some of these might actually be like legitimate eye exercises, and what they're doing is the old tactic, the old dirty trick of inserting a kernel of truth into the larger bullshit.
Like a reverse Trojan horse?
I guess so, because the best way to be deceptive isn't to completely lie, but to, insert a kernel of truth into your thing so that you can have it to point to when somebody has any questions.
Right.
That makes me wonder if these possibly legitimate eye exercises are a way of sort of misdirecting you. So away from the fact that you spent a bunch of money on this, which by the way, I think at the time, this was like $350.
Wow.
And I felt that was a bit excessive, but the money back guarantee was fine. So whatever, the joke's on them.
It's the same cost as like a pair of glasses. Interestingly enough.
Well, yeah, I guess you could rationalize it too by saying like, well, I could keep buying glasses, or I could just get this thing once.
Yeah.
But again, this is part of the reason I started looking into science and how to evaluate claims and evidence and things like that. It was a very long, slow journey of going from thinking like this to thinking the way that I do now, where I remember at the time too, like I just had kind of a shitty little life, and I worked at a shitty little job, and I didn't really like know a whole lot of people, and I didn't know a lot about the world. And I came from a shitty little town, and, the whole thing. And I was always very curious about everything. I was curious about philosophy and science and how we can know things, and, like, wanting the best way possible to sort of operate.
Mm-hmm.
And I would pester people ever since I was a little kid, like, asking all these questions, and no one would really have very good answers, and no one could point me to the right resources.
Right.
And like for a while I got really interested in like the paranormal and the supernatural, and then I got interested in just plain old philosophy, just all the just generalized ways of looking at philosophy in general philosophy classes. And that didn't really help either, although it was a step closer. And finally, after a long time, I started learning about logical argument and fallacies and how biases work, and what the scientific method really meant, and how to basically all the different ways that you learn how to analyze claims and evidence.
Yeah.
The nature of evidence, things like that. There's a lot to all that.
Which it would have been nice if philosophy had put you on that track. Maybe it did, but
Yeah.
Because that's, because the scientific method is a product of philosophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, although we didn't really cover the philosophy of science I took a couple of general philosophy classes in college, and neither of them covered philosophy of science.
It's really weird to me
Yeah,
because that's like the crowning achievement of philosophy is like empiricism.
yeah, you would think. I think that maybe my readers had like a chapter in them, but we didn't do it in class, and we didn't get it assigned to us. So it was more like sort of a history of philosophy.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of wrong philosophies and ones that disagreed with other philosophies, and sort of mystical philosophies and things like that. And now I just sort of generally, I'm happy that I now understand the nature of evidence, but sort of pissed off and resentful that I spent all that time thinking the wrong way. And just, it sucks that, see, if I could have access to like a young mind, I could easily give them a shortcut that would save them decades.
Yeah.
And it sucks that there wasn't that shortcut around. There's just no way to get to it that I could think of at the time when I was a youngster, and I'm just kind of resentful about that. I mean, it makes me wonder how many times I've been taken advantage of that I'm not even thinking about right now, and how many other people out there are like that,
That you were once the confused young man.
Yeah, and I've sort of I work hard on my bullshit detector. At the end, that's the end game for me. I sort of think of logical reasoning as like martial arts for the mind, where it's very difficult now, not impossible, but very difficult for somebody to come along and dupe me.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's still doable. I mean, I don't think it's ever possible to be like bulletproof in that way, but I feel like I've made a lot of improvements. And interestingly, like when you and I came together to meet, like I noticed that about you too, that you had like a pretty good bullshit detector. And one of the things that made me want to keep talking to you was my interest in how you got to yours.
Oh, I see.
That whenever I meet somebody with a good bullshit detector, I want to know how their journey compares and contrasts to mine.
That makes sense.
So
I understand.
Now, just sort of on that for a minute, I'm curious about like if you did you have a similar journey? I mean, we've talked about this a little privately, but
yeah, I mean, I don't mind talking about it here too, and I might say things that I've never really brought up before. I guess mine developed partially because like I think one of the differences is our families, where it seems more like the people that you talk about that you were exposed to had more of a uniformity and to the extent to which they believed in goofy stuff, whereas it was a much more mixed like grab bag in my family. And my mom, for the most part, because my parents are divorced, I grew up for the most part with my mom, and my dad is not easily bullshatted either, but goddamn English, strong and weak verbs. I hate that.
just say the wrong thing on purpose if you know people know what you mean.
Well, I don't think we have a formal a formal systematic way of how bullshit should be used in different tenses.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the point. But I grew up mostly with my mom, and there's a lot of people on my mom's side of the family that I think have hokey, weird ways of thinking and definitely are easily taken in by nonsense. And in my house with my mom and my brother, we all have pretty good bullshit detectors for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I was always told, or it wasn't even necessarily always told, it was just like I would be exposed to goofy relatives, and because that was not normal at my house, I would go, well, that doesn't seem right. And then I'd bring it up at home, and I would be told, no, that's not right. And then just science was not, even though my parents, neither of them were super into science, it was always like, yes, this is good to learn about. You should definitely go for this. Don't hold back. That's the way things are. Is what you're learning is the truth. And that's great that you and the way my mom put it, I don't know if it was always the most helpful for me because I felt like putting a lot of responsibility on it, but it was always like, you should do this because you really understand it and it's legit stuff. So that was definitely part of it, is having a house where that was encouraged, and it also had a very good foil against other people that were close degree relatives. That it was like, yeah, they say that, and that's definitely wrong.
Yeah.
So
I never really got that definitive wrong speech like that.
Oh.
This is what I've said in the show before, is I had a mentality where everything was equally likely, knowable, unknowable, plausible, and mysterious. It's all equal. All cultures were the same. All beliefs were the same. Everything deserved equal respect. It was, just sameness, and it didn't make a ton of sense, but at the same time, I sort of accepted it.
Right.
And I found it very frustrating. And I didn't know how to reconcile it in my head until years later, when I realized, oh yeah, some things are just fucking stupid. And some people just are fucking stupid. And like, just because they're older than you and you're around them a lot doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Little kids are wired to sort of be obedient to like their immediate elders, and little kids, their programming involves sort of accepting whatever they're told.
Right.
And I definitely fell into that a lot. The only definitive coming down, on a decision that I know of is when it was something that, first of all, like liberals, big hatred of liberals. So that was one exception. And another one was like, if somebody did have a definite stance on something,
yeah,
they would be criticized in favor of everything being equally plausible, mysterious, unlikely, and unknowable. So,
well, yeah, I guess I should add caveats. You probably know most of them, but just for our listening audience, that yeah, mine was not like a pure free thinker, like environment either. My mom's side and my mom were definitely very Catholic, not super Catholic, but they took it with some amount of seriousness when I was younger, at least. I've brought my mom around to skepticism since I've been older, but it was that sort of cultural Catholicism people talk about. Like they said they believed in God, but they didn't like take religion super seriously. And my dad, I think, has been much more divorced from religion for much longer than my mom, but I wasn't around him as much when I was little. Oh shit, there's something else he said. Oh, and also, like, I went to Catholic school, and that, being around that, I think also pushed, like, the social side of conservatism. And so, like, I was very much into that side of it when I was younger, because that's, like, that, after a certain age, that just starts getting, hammered on in school. Even though they don't directly endorse a political party, they do directly endorse specific positions on issues.
Yeah, so I don't know, I guess that covers.
What's interesting, this is a little sort of side thing maybe, but the interesting thing to me that I think people don't realize is you growing up with the whole everything's equally mysterious, all claims are equally plausible, all that all evidence should be considered. What I think people don't realize is that relationship again between society and philosophy, because to me that's postmodernism, like distilled down in its social form, is the idea that you can't judge anyone else's knowledge or anyone else's methods for gaining knowledge about the world.
I hate that.
And I hate it too, but it's interesting to me how you'll hear people rage against it, and people be like, people will rage against like cultural relativism or whatever, but at the end of the day, their outlook is postmodernist, and even if they don't realize it, and so many people even that I think would associate again postmodernism with being liberal and too loosey-goosey, fucking weird. That's I don't know about you. I feel like we're getting out of that again to some extent. I don't know to what extent, but people have really embraced it since the 70s. It seems like.
Yeah, it sort of waxes and wanes, and I think it's declining right now somewhat. But I don't know. It's just, it could be increasing for all I know.
It seems to me, at least in this country, it's waning a little bit, at least, because it's a combination of being confronted with like radical Islam, that we have to look at belief systems with a little bit more of a critical eye in terms of what they can foster. And also, like, a reaction against, like, anti-science ideologies.
I see, well, here's what I see. I see, like, two camps, and in one camp it's waxing, and in one camp it's waning.
Okay.
Like, there's the there's like the Richard Dawkins and the Sam Harris types out there, who feel, and Hitchens too, I guess, when he was alive, feel fine with criticizing radical Islam.
Yeah.
And then there's this other more hippy dippy side of people that say that's racist. And I've encountered a lot of them. So for them, they have a seemingly increasing attitude of postmodernist thought, whereas these other guys, like I guess I fall into this other camp where I look at things more on a case by case basis.
Right.
And if Islam looks like, if its rules and instructions, case by case, are worse than the rules and instructions of some other ideology, then that's not racism. That's just evaluating claims and evidence properly for what they are.
Right.
You know, so these two camps, one is more, you know, sort of loosey-goosey, postmodern, everything's equal, you know, versus the sort of more hard, objective sort of camp.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether you could say, actually, I might take it back. I'm not sure whether postmodernist thought is waxing or waning. It seems to be, too, like the more... This is just my own observation. I don't know if it really correlates with all of humanity, but sort of narcissistic asshole types who are missing something or insecure or something are the types that seem to latch on to this bullshitty way of thinking where it's all the same and equal and mysterious and the sameness, like a horrible worldview is the same as a less horrible worldview. It's all the same. We have to make it all the same.
Right.
And if it isn't the same, we have to sort of force people to think it is the same. I'm not sure why people have that attitude. It's probably coming from a good place, like many things are, but at the end of the day, like, it's probably because they're either arguing from ignorance or they have some kind of bias. And I've gotten into arguments with people, and it usually like degrades to a series of fuck yous, and there's not much you can do.
See, I usually start off with the fuck you to see what happens. I guess what I think of as an argumentative fuck you is when I come into contact with somebody that's real hardcore about postmodernism and that idea of, oh, well, everybody's way of looking at the world is different. And I go, well, yeah, I mean, that's why I think it's okay to have sex with children. Because if that's the way you look at the world.
That's a classic sort of chess move in argument when you counter somebody that has this dumb, like everything's the same, like attitude.
Oh, well, it's because it's immediately going to the wall with absurdity.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not an unrealistic absurdity. It's just...
Well, because that's the implication of the position.
Yeah.
Is that if no way of looking at the world is any worse than any others, well, my way of looking at the world is that there's nothing better than fucking an 8-year-old.
Yeah, that's usually where you can sort of corner them. Yeah. And they're like, now, wait a minute.
Or you bring up, like, oh, yeah, I mean, like, people that dig, female genital mutilation, or, well, excuse me, female circumcision. That's just their culture, man.
Yeah, all cultures are the same. We can't judge anyone or any cultures. We can't judge. We cannot judge. No.
So, I mean, that's just what they do. God bless them.
Yeah, I for one am against female genital mutilation because you can analyze that and see that it's worse than other things.
Right.
Now I am pro female genital stimulation. Very pro.
Even if it has to be state mandated.
How dare you, sir?
Going for your annual orgasm.
Oh, they haven't done that since like the 1880s or something.
The idea that we've moved away from that is almost more hilarious than the idea that we would move towards it. Oh, we've gotten away from that mandatory orgasm thing.
You get sent into the doctor to have a little exploratory surgery performed. Oh! And for those of you who don't know, like apparently back in the ye olde timey days, if a woman was said to be suffering from hysteria, like quotes, hysteria.
Right. Yeah.
They would go in to like the doctor and like give him a chicken or whatever for payment, and he would like use some kind of like vibrator or something on her, and it was like a medical treatment, and ultimately the end result is an orgasm, and then like she would like be temporarily cured of her hysteria. So, and then if the movies are any indication,
later it becomes frigidity.
Yeah, it evolves through all these things, and finally we get to a point where we have a fair understanding of human sexuality. It's not perfect, but it's...
Well, we at least know that the condition of hysteria is not caused when the uterus detaches and starts bouncing around the body.
Yeah.
You can thank Aristotle for that one.
You don't know that. It's all, we don't know anything. You can't judge. It's all equal and all the same.
Yeah. Well, let me break your arm and see what happens when if you go to the hospital or not.
It's all equal. We can't know. We can't know anything.
I'm just trying. Yeah, that's true. We just need to be more humble.
Yeah, that's it. Ironically, the people that say that are the biggest narcissistic assholes.
It's those damn scientists who tell you they know everything.
Oh, yes, those damn scientists. Yes.
Doctors and their prescriptive authority.
Oh, how dare they.
I've got the flu. I need antibiotics.
If the movies are any indication, from a slightly later ye olde timey days, basically you just slap somebody. You loudly announce, "You're hysterical," and then whack.
Right in the kisser.
Now, personally, I think they were closer with the orgasm than the slap. But either one really isn't the greatest, treatment for, I don't know.
Yeah, but she wasn't in need of tincture of 5 across the eyes.
Yeah. So, how did we get here? Once again,
I'm not sure how we got to the absurdity of postmodernism.
The journey of how to develop a bullshit detector. Yeah, that's what it was. So, and also like one of the big things that really helped me was, I mean, if there hadn't been an internet, there would be no bullshit detector for me. I might have eventually stumbled upon something eventually with no internet, maybe in the form of books and magazines. But the thing that really helped me out was, around 2006 or 2007, I finally got like high-speed internet, and I set up a wireless network in my house, and I started perusing, blogs and YouTube videos and things like that, and started slowly getting book recommendations from those perusings. Mm-hmm. And I built up a giant collection of books that are all oriented around bullshit detection in one form or another. And just accidentally too, and on Christmas Day 2007, Carl Sagan's Cosmos was running like in the background on TV, and I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
And so I watched a bit of it, and I was like enamored by it. So I went to my local library and I took out the videotapes of Cosmos and watched them like just all at once, like all 13 episodes, and I was blown away by it. Like the information that Sagan gives, not only about the cosmos itself as far as cosmology goes, but the journey of human beings, the history of how we figured out things, and how we figured out that some stuff is bullshit and some stuff is real, and how we're part of like the universe, and the universe is part of us, and how we as little bits of the universe can be self-aware and learn better and better methods up to science, the culmination of learning, which is, as Bill Nye, the science guy, once put it, the best idea anyone has ever had. And I don't think there's anything you could ever improve upon. Like there's no thing that will ever be better than science, as far as I can tell. Whatever thing comes along, that's what science will be. There will never be a thing that tops science. So we're very lucky to live in a time where we have it. It's the basic method. The difference between science and any other method is that science has self-correction mechanisms built into it, whereas other methods do not. So the self-correction is what allows science to perpetually exist and improve itself and never go away. So
Yeah, that's true.
and so seeing Cosmos and learning that stuff was a big help. And so now that I had access to YouTube, I started going through and looking at other stuff Carl Sagan did, and then I started reading his books, and then I started watching videos and reading the books of the friends of Carl Sagan, and
The super best friends.
yeah, the super best friends of Sagan, and they all sort of are oriented around bullshit detection, and so that's sort of how I got there. And then a few more years go by, and now I'm this guy instead of some naive boob. I'm still kind of a boob in some ways, but not as much of a naive boob. So
the naivete is washed clean.
People like James Randi, he's probably one of the greatest bullshit detectors of all time, and Penn and Teller, and there are a bunch of others. Without them, there would be no me. So that's how I got here. And it all started with bullshit talk radio and see clearly methods and all that other postmodernist horse shit. So
the thing that strikes me the funniest is with the see clearly stuff, just to go to something that I kept thinking of when you were talking about it, is one of the interesting bits of evidence that I do know is out there is that the more the data suggested, the more literate the culture, the higher the rates of nearsightedness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny to me that they gave you a bunch of shit to read or to look at closely. So when we know that one of the things that may actually have an effect on nearsightedness is doing more distance viewing.
Well, the irony never seems to end.
It's just
in all these bullshitty products. So, well, I guess it's about that time to wrap it up, Cole.
I think you're right.
Once again, we hope you've had fun with us. Remember, don't worry about shit so much. Feel good about yourself if you're not hurting anybody else. And chill the fuck out, even if other people don't want to.
Indeed. And please, tell a friend about the show. Help us spread the word. Tell your enemies. Tell whoever will listen.
Bring out the gimp.
Stand on a street corner. Proclaim your love to the world. Because we rely heavily on you to keep this facility afloat. As usual, our music is provided by The Griefs, and you can find links to them on our Facebook page, which is Bad Guy Labs. Also now, I put some links on our YouTube page on the right-hand side there. That's the Grotesque Brooms, actually, now. You can follow us on Twitter at BadGuyLabs, and of course, email us at BadGuyLabsChannel@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Cole Koenig on behalf of Jason Everson saying, do your best to see clearly, and don't be afraid to be a bad guy.